Hey everyone, and welcome back to Motion Mondays right here on Adobe Live. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching the pro tips prior to this and just hanging out with us. I do see a lot of people actually still hanging out in the chat. What's up, Robert? How you doing? Wade, good to see you again. And wow, Jacob. Hey everyone. Whether you're watching on YouTube or Behance, be sure to hit the subscribe button over on YouTube at Adobe Live. And yeah, we got a cool show for you today. First off, my name is Alex Hogue. I am the founder of a creative studio up here based in Bend, Oregon. And I'm hanging out with Brian Ariyo, who is a content creator and cinematographer based in Houston, Texas. How you doing, Brian?
Hey Alex, how you doing? Super excited to be here. Hope everyone's doing
Yeah.
good.
And this is your first time on Adobe Live, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're super happy to have you here. And today we're going to be talking about editing cinematic vlog content for social. So we will be working inside of Premiere, Photoshop, and we're going to be discussing the importance of pre-production and shot selection, as well as general editing workflows, for quick timeline edits and some awesome transitions. So, with all that in mind, we'll also talk color grading and Brian's techniques for sound design. So, with all that in mind, be sure to throw your questions into the chat, and myself and Brian and the moderators will try to answer that as best as possible. And Brian, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, just so our audience here knows your background and kind of what your specialty is and how you got into this?
Yeah, so I've been making videos for 2 years now. I started, I think, my sophomore year in college, and I was just like, it was just on a whim. I was watching a YouTube video and I saw someone making a cool vlog, and I was like, man, I want to try that myself. So I decided to get a camera and have did freelance videography for different clubs at my school, and also just learned how to edit through just watching tutorials on YouTube, as most people. And then I started my own YouTube channel eventually 2 years ago where I focus on making vlogs about my life and short cinematic stories about different topics that I felt that a lot of people could relate to. And at the moment, I'm currently working as a freelance creative, and also head creator of a media company where we also do short form content and long form content as well.
Man, you got a lot going on. So, this is your YouTube here, and it's at Brian Ariyo. Tell me a bit about that process because I know since we're talking social, I know there's probably a lot of thought that goes into starting a YouTube channel. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think for me, there wasn't too much like hesitance between wanting to start. I kind of just like saw other people doing it and I was like, you know what, let me try that too. So I just like on a whim, I looked up like obviously like how to make a YouTube channel, like what do you have to do, all the technical stuff. And then I kind of just like watched other like vloggers like Casey Neistat, Elliot Choi, so many other people. And I kind of just went off of their videos to get a vibe. And then I kind of reverse engineered and just tried my own style over time and started implementing a lot more new techniques and different styles to film videos. And that's kind of how I like pushed with just making videos overall.
Love that. And thanks so much for mentioning like some of your influence as well of just how you got into this because we all start somewhere, right? And I do see in the chat, hey Keys, we're showing some love for your header picture that you have on your YouTube. Great shot.
Oh, thank you.
Um, as well as the rooftop pics. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing. We'll start in Premiere today and give us just kind of like a high level overview. What are people going to learn and what's your plan for this session?
Yeah, so I make a lot of short form content and more so vlogs and short form content nowadays for Instagram and TikTok. And I actually was gonna showcase a vlog I made about graduation because I just graduated college like last week. So I thought that would be
Oh, no
cool.
way.
Yeah, yeah. The showcase.
Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. It feels good to be out of school. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. But yeah, I made a vlog that kind of like I guess it's like a short story on how post grad life is like and the pieces that you might feel are missing from it. So we're going to be going through Premiere on a video that isn't completed yet, but we're going to be breaking down like the shot selection, pre-production, and then how I went about structuring the video, sound design, and also some color grading at the end as well.
Sweet. Well, I think that's enough talking from me. So why don't we just go ahead and dive right into it?
Yeah, let's go. So, to start off, I use this platform called Milanote. It kind of just helps me with like pre-production overall. So, if you guys are ever just before you hop into a project, I think it's always important to at least like write down a general idea and then kind of go from there in terms of like, okay, like I want to have a shot that does this, and then that's like where the story is going to go. And Milanote is this really cool platform that's free that I use a lot for a lot of my shots. As you can see, I drew like a little drawing of like me in bed just to kind of
Oh,
illustrate.
that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I did this on my cursor, so obviously the hand it doesn't look that good compared to like a pen and tablet, but it was really brief and it just helped me get the idea of like, okay, this is where I want my shots to begin. On the left side, I kind of just wrote down like what the video is about. So it's a 60-second short reel that shows the life of a graduate. And this was like kind of the original thought process I had behind the video originally on the left. And then
Hmm.
I started making like a shot list. So as you can see, there's different things that are like WS, which means wide shot of me sitting on the couch at night. There's like a medium shot of me waking up that's like overhead, and that's kind of like what I drew over here. I think if
Yeah.
y'all have seen movies, there's always like those overhead shots that like characters usually deal with. Then I kind of just have sections where I put like different things I'm thinking of. So if I want to do a montage sequence, which is just a bunch of different clips, I write down like, all right, what are the specific clips to showcase that? And then I label a lot of things and just put like the sound and music that I want to use. And for this video, at least, I was heavily inspired by the song I just found on the internet. And it was used in a way that, like, I guess it set the tone for a routine style video. Like you're going through a sequence and it's just recurring over time. And I think that music heavily inspired my original vision for the video. And then like as a lot of creatives go through this wild process, like after maybe a day of wanting to do this video, you might have another idea. So I completely scrapped everything on the left side and I was just like, you know what? Let's start over. I'm gonna do something else. I changed the song as well. So this is like the new version. I basically just wrote out a script for the video because at first I wasn't gonna have any voiceover, but I was like, I think this could be a little bit more entertaining with my voiceover. So everything here in italics is kind of like the voiceover. That's usually how I
Hmm.
write out like my scripts for videos. And then I have like anything that's in bold or in brackets is kind of like camera movement, kind of a pan or like a specific edit that I want to do. And I didn't really make a step-by-step shot list for this version of the video because I already had like the idea of like all the shots in my head since I made this one the other day and I just like scrapped it completely. But yeah, that's kind of like how important pre-production is because you want to like not you waste a lot of time when you jump into a project and you don't really know like what shot you want to use, what music you want to use, and that's usually what I do first. I find the song and then I start building my shot list from there because the music is what will push and drive the rhythm of the video.
Yeah, I totally agree. Hey, Jack, thanks for joining in. Um, I'm curious how many people here in the chat use a software such as Milanote or maybe Notion or some other program. What do you like the most? Let us know. And then, Brian, it's so cool to actually have people on. For one, I love hosting because I get to see everyone's different workflows, and I do very much the same thing that you do. I kind of jot everything down. And then, kind of as you admitted to, I also start with something and then often have to completely scratch it and start over.
Mhm.
So thanks for sharing that. I am curious. So when you do this, like how long did this whole process take initially? But then how much time do you think it saved in terms of like production and editing, like by having this done up front?
Yeah, so for me, I think with any project, I don't know if it's the same for anyone else watching, but it takes me a while to warm up. I gotta get in the gear of things. Like even if it's just writing out like what the video is gonna be about, I have to get into that warm up writing gear. And usually it's like 30 minutes of me just like sitting at my screen and just trying to put something together. And then after a while, I'll probably get in the flow. And it took me about an hour and a half to kind of make this video concept and then just quickly jot down some shots because I've made videos similar to this in the past, but this is more in it has a different tone, I guess. And overall, I think it does save quite a bit of time. I think
Yeah.
like just because I did this earlier, I probably saved like another extra hour or two just not having to look for specific shots and edit.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the key takeaways is that you do this pre-production up front. It saves a lot of time on the back end and you just feel like you know what you're going into. So in the chat, we are seeing a lot of love for this kind of pre-production and note taking. Let's go ahead and dive into like some of the visuals and the audio inside of Premiere.
Yeah, so let's hop in there. Cool. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Cool, cool, cool. So this is the as you can see, this is the timeline for the video. It's about a minute long. Um, and we're gonna be going through the rest of the video, starting from 50-ish seconds to the end, but so far this is what we have. And as you can see, there's a lot of things going on here, especially it can look a little bit overwhelming as well. But I guess to start off, we can kind of just break down like how I went about even putting things on the timeline in the first place.
Yeah. Perfect place to start.
Cool. So basically, what I generally do when I start a project in Premiere is just go into my project bin and make file folders for different things. So I'll have a folder for footage where I'll put in like B-roll, which is just clips that you use in the background. I'll have footage like random folders for different B-roll clips generally. I'll have like a folder for VFX in case I want to add like an overlay on top. Like I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of like film grain style things or things that you add on top of videos. So I'll do that. I'll have a folder for music where it's just like a bunch of songs that I just have on my computer. And then
Yeah.
sound effects is the main thing. It's just my sound design folder. So I'll have effects for pretty much every category. And just getting all the sounds takes a while in the first place. So this is like years of just like accumulative sounds overall.
I have the exact same thing. It's just AHSFX, same way you labeled yours as well. And it's just a
Yeah.
huge folder. It's probably a collection of like 10 years worth of like my favorite sound effects now. And then eventually I go through and organize those into subfolders of like whooshes and hits
Mhm.
and risers and that sort of stuff. I love that you do the exact same thing. Like even just putting, just
Yeah.
all in the same folder there.
It's very helpful because I think as you make just being organized in general and just even if it's not the best type of organization, having a good foundation helps because if you're like, oh, I need to use like a human heartbeat sound, it's like, oh, I'll go to human sounds. So I made a folder for that and I'll look for like, oh, heartbeat one right there. And I'll just use
Hmm.
that. So it makes things a lot easier.
Love that.
Cool.
And
So
also, I noticed you kind of were toggling back in that bin between like a thumbnail view and then the list view you have there. How are you doing that?
yeah, so to do that, I can you basically just click if you go to let me see if I can make this larger. If you go to the right here, if you click on icon view, and list view in your project bin. These two things you can switch between like how you want things to be viewed as. I generally put sound effects as a list view. And then for footage, I will generally have it as an icon view just because I want to see like a brief preview of the clip itself. And the good thing with at least Premiere is that you can hover over your bin and kind of just like scan the footage to see
Yeah.
previews of it before you even put it in the timeline, which saves a lot of time overall.
Yeah, I love that feature in there. Okay, so what's next?
Yeah, so after I do that, as you can see, I just put in a bunch of clips so far. Generally, so with this process, we can actually play the video for certain bits. Let's just play it out real quick. This is the day in the life of a new college graduate. Typically, I start my day at 7 a.m. if I actually get out of bed, of course. All right, so as you can see, that's the first bit of a day in the life of a postgraduate. But there was a lot of different clips that you saw and a lot of moving parts already in the first 8 seconds. So
Hmm.
we can kind of just go through what those parts were for sure. So
Yeah.
when I started the video, I just put in like 4 different B-roll clips, which were these. Um, just zoom in here. So we have this clip right here, me running. Let me mute this. It's not loud. Me running, me working out at the gym, and then me working on a call, and then me playing a video game. And I had it's a mini montage in the intro to give a preview of what the video overall will be, because I think that's really important with like hooks and just giving the viewer an idea of like what else are they going to see in the video while I'm also talking about my routine. And I think it worked really well with the music as well because it had that kind of like jazzy
Yeah.
rhythm to it off the
Yeah, I
bat.
think that was an excellent choice of music. Hello to Azam over on YouTube, and thank you to everyone joining in. If you are just joining in, we're hanging out with Brian. He is a recent new graduate. Congratulations. And we're talking about a day in the life of a postgraduate and just editing vloggy type content for social media. So if you have any questions, if you're just tuning in, stick around, filter them our way, and we will be sure to answer those. Brian, go ahead and continue on with what's next. So far we've got, you started with B-roll, no audio
Mhm.
yet. We started with B-roll, put those shots in, and then next step was kind of a fun little jazzy tune.
Yeah, so it was putting in the clips based on the music, and then obviously I added in my voiceover last,
New college
which
graduate.
and I love how the music just ends right there because it has like a little pause and then it'll pick up again. But
Mm-hmm.
the next step was obviously, as you see, it's me sleeping, right? And when I visualize scenes like this, especially for B-roll, I always try to add sounds to amplify that what you're looking at. So obviously, like when you wake up from bed, you probably have an alarm clock going off. I don't know if you live in a nature area, but you probably hear birds chirping. Hopefully, it's like a nice way to wake up. And what I wanted to do with this clip was add in those sound effects to like really amplify that scene. So let's look at the timeline real quick. And if I mute just the music and the audio, I'll just mute everything actually, so we have an idea. So right now, this is a clip without any sound effects at all added. So obviously, it sounds pretty good still, but I think
Mm-hmm.
adding sound effects would definitely make you feel like you're really immersed in the scene. So what I did was I added, first of all, an alarm clock sound at the bottom here, which we'll unmute. Oh wait, no, that's the bird sound. But I
Got the
added
birds.
birds chirping early in the morning to add that effect. And then I added lastly one more sound, which is me actually waking up with the alarm clock.
Typically, I start my day at
And I don't know if y'all recognize that sound, but that's the iPhone alarm clock that I hear every morning. So I wanted to make it very accurate. But I'm sure a lot of people have trauma from that sound.
Oh, I'm familiar with it. That's for sure.
Yeah. But so as you can see, adding those two sounds added a little bit more depth and
typ-
volume to the clip overall. And it makes you feel like, okay, this is real. Like this guy's waking up. I also go through the same experience as well when I get up for school or work or whatever. And that's kind of like how I built that section out. But throughout the video, I kind of have different part pieces where I layer in sounds to really add and make the experience overall feel immersive. So if we keep watching the video, and I'll just mute my voiceover so you only hear the music and sound effects.
Yeah, we got footsteps.
So that's a lot of sounds, right? It just adds
Mm-hmm.
a lot more depth and volume to the video overall. And
I
if we
couldn't
look,
agree more. Yeah. This
mm,
brings me back to a project I did a long time ago in college, where we had to take like an old Charlie Chaplin film or something that didn't have sound and
sound,
like completely re-sound design it. And you kind of learn a lot in how important sound design is and also how overlooked it is. Like,
mhm.
I love the fact that you're diving into this because a lot of people don't put in that extra effort and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think I heard a saying before. It's like sound design is 50% of the video because
Yeah.
like without sound or music, like it would just be flat. So obviously you want to incorporate those elements.
Yes, I had an old college professor that would beat that into our heads all the time. Same guy who gave us that project I was just talking about.
Yeah, no, for me it was funny learning that because I never went to so I didn't go to school for like film or anything. So
Okay.
when I first started making videos, it was just of seeing other people have sound effects in their videos. I'm like, oh, like why is that important? And then I tried it. I'm like, whoa, that adds a lot more depth to the scene. And then you kind of from then on just follow that funnel and just keep implementing those
Yeah.
elements.
Yeah, Rico over on YouTube says he hates that sound, referring to the alarm clock sound, which I think many of us can agree with.
Yeah,
Very true.
it's very, very painful. Had to deal with that for 4 years, so I understand. But yeah, so overall, those are like the key elements. So usually when I start my edit, I will add in the B-roll, like clips. I'll match that with the music, and then I'll add sound design to the video to kind of add that depth overall. And I guess
So do you
we'll,
do, sorry, do you do that all sequentially? Like, are you building out, this first 10 seconds and you're getting that all completely dialed with your music, with your sound effects, or do you lay out all your shots first and then later go back and add your sound effects? What works for you?
Yeah, so I used to kind of like layer out all my shots at first, but I don't know if it's just me or other people, but I always get spontaneous ideas for like sound design and like music choice. So I find myself nowadays just going piece bit by bit. So for example, the intro, I did the first 10 seconds by itself before I even added in like the other sound effects. Generally, what I'll do is I'll put the music I'm using for the video, I'll have that in first, and then I'll put in the B-roll, and then I'll add in sound effects section by section to like just make it sequential because I think it's just easier. And if you want to like change stuff, it makes it easier in the end because you didn't just apply that to every other part and then you have to go back and forth. So that's kind of like the flow that I follow at the moment.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of like that's the video, like the process behind at least like the sound design and stuff. So we'll actually play the full video for now to see like where we're at and like what we need to actually add and improve from my lens. So you guys will finally get to see the full thing for now, at least.
And real quick before you hit play, Rico's asking over on YouTube, are
Mhm.
all of your sound effects at the same decibel level, or do you have different decibel levels for different sounds like effects, music, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so they're all at different decibel levels. So because for one reason, sometimes the sound design, like the sound effect I'll use is louder than others, or I'll have to like
Mm,
tweak that one individually. And usually at the end, I'll like try to equalize everything to make sure it's balanced. That's like a last step, but for at least the first draft, I generally just like try to match each sound effect to like the level I think works. And even for this one, some of them might be a little bit too loud, so I'll obviously have to tweak that later on, but that's kind of like how I go about it.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly the same thing I do as well. And I do find a lot of sound effects, especially those really bass heavy ones,
Hmm.
require either a filter or, yeah, just turning them way, way down.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they kind of overpower and you want them to support your story, not necessarily be the focus of the story.
Yeah, and even speaking on that, like the filter part, one thing you'll notice is if you look at the timeline here, sometimes I have different things on the sound effects. I forgot to go over interlabeling, but basically anything in forest color is a sound effect, and generally I'll have like a constant gain transition to like either just lower the sound overall, or I'll use it at the beginning of the sound effect to like kind of ease into the sound. I think a lot of
Mm,
people do this as well, but I think it's really helpful to do it that way. And even with music, generally, like leave my music at negative 15 decibels just to start off because music's already pretty loud. If you look at the
yeah.
layers, you can see how heavy different tracks are just from looking at this. So that's really helpful when you're trying to like gauge how loud things should be.
Awesome. Yeah. And hello to Alejandro over on Behance. Thanks for joining us. We're hanging out here with Brian, and he's walking us through his workflow for kind of vloggy style content for social media. So if you have any questions, anyone, whether you're on YouTube or Behance, be sure to throw them in the chat and we'll get to those. But let's go ahead and take a look at, I guess, the full video here.
Yep.
This is the day in the life of a new college graduate. Typically, I start my day at 7 a.m. if I actually get out of bed, of course. Then I grab my gear and shoes and head on a run. Running seems to be the new cool thing, and I've actually done a few races myself. After that, I'll head to the gym to get some training done for the day. Next, I'll head back home to start working on the different projects I have. Oh, and if you didn't know, I film and edit videos for a living at the moment. And once I'm done, I'll play video games till I get a win, and when I can't do that, I'll quit and watch a movie. But then, I'll take a step back and wonder if this is what life is all about. Was my time in college too short?
All right. So that's currently where
Oh,
the video's
man.
at. That's I cut y'all off for the good part, but
You know, I gotta take a moment here just to like recognize the talent that's going into that video and a lot of the techniques that are really cool to see you implementing just with sound and really understanding those peaks and valleys and like where to stop, where to transition the song. Like you got me on the emotional level. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is really fun. You did a really good job kind of choosing those tracks. Also, I loved the natural voiceover moment when you're talking about your races and just adding your voice in there, just for a split second, really adds to like, oh, okay, I can relate to this. It feels good. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to like take a moment to call attention to that.
No, thank you. Yeah, I think like just I don't know how to describe it, but I think just understanding like rhythm and flow, like sometimes music doesn't need to play all the time. Sometimes it's cutting it off abruptly helps, or even like introducing another soundtrack. But also with voiceover, I think a lot of times when we watch content, we hear like the same type of like voices, like that same cadence. And I think just talking like how you normally talk and just like adding in a funny tidbit that doesn't feel like it's part of that flow or story, like makes it more funny. And that's kind of like what I strive to do nowadays in my videos.
Yeah. I also, well, brain fart. Totally forgot what I was going to say there. But we do have a question coming from Robert. Do you record your own sound effects?
Yes, I actually do sometimes. Okay, because I think I saw this on someone else do it, but I don't have like the best equipment to record like with a professional mic and stuff for sound design. But what I'll do is a really good hack is just take your iPhone or any phone you have. I go on voice memos, and for example, if I want to open a door or there's like a sound, I drop something, right? I'll just use my phone and use it to record that audio and then I'll just import that into my computer and just tweak it from there. Because sometimes you can't find that exact sound you need, no matter like how long you look. So I think it's just faster and easier to just do it that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super helpful. But yeah, I would encourage y'all to save if you don't want to buy sound design packs or like obviously, yeah, just obtain them a long way. Just do that. Use your phone or any device you have to record audio. It makes it a lot easier overall.
Yeah, I'll throw a little shout out to what is it, freesound.org that I've been using for like 10 or 15 years now. It's just a bunch of royalty free sound effects that people make and upload. So go get an account over there if you're ever looking for free sound effects. Sometimes they got some good stuff in there.
Yeah, they do for sure. All right, so yeah, this is kind of where the video ends off right now. So obviously we went from a very like high pace like jazz style format to like more of a slow, somber song. And I think the theme of the video was showcasing what you imagine post-grad life would be like, but then also the character realizes that he might not have spent the past 4 years he was in school properly to the fullest. And that's kind of like where the narrative goes right now. So as you can see, there's a lot still need to be added. Like we don't have clips here besides like music and voiceover.
Mhm.
But so far there are a few things that I want to like explain and tweak and what needs to be added to the video. So right now we know we need to finish the video. We have like 10 seconds left to finish it. We also need to color grade, which I'm not sure if you all noticed, but I filmed the video in log, which is basically like a flat profile, which allows you to truly manipulate colors as much as you want. So we still need to color grade the video because as you can see, there's a lot of footage where it's just very much gray,
This is the day in the life of a new
right?
college graduate.
So
Yep.
obviously there's a lot of color missing. So that's why color grading is really important. Then I'm also going to add in some captions at the end and also add in a little bit of animations as well to like enhance the video. But those are those four things that we kind of want to address and tackle throughout to finish it off.
Perfect. So we are a half an hour into our stream. We have about 50 minutes of like working time left. Do you think we can knock it out in 50 minutes and then we'll kind of do a recap at the very end?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think so.
Perfect.
All right, cool. Let's start. So basically, what I wanted to do first was actually there's a section here. Let's see. I'm gonna gonna mute the audio for now. So as you can see, the character is looking at memories of him in school. And I basically wanted to make an effect that kind of shows like a glitch transition into the next clip. But I think we'll do that last because I love doing VFX stuff last. For now, I think the big thing is incorporating the rest of the B-roll, first of all, which like will allow us to finish the video, and then we can go back and add in like the different little stylistic choices. So I think shot selection is really important. So as you could tell, I shifted the music tone over here to something a little bit more slow and somber. And this is I chose that music to kind of signify reflection because I think the character, as you can tell, he's looking through old photos and he's like reflecting the character being myself, going through my memories, obviously. So I wanted to like throw the viewer into my memories. So far, though, we have like a few memories that have been shown, which are just clips from me in school. And something that I did that a lot of people can do to kind of signify that aspect of like you're going back and reflecting is adding in like a black and white color to the image, because at the moment they are all pretty dark, right? But this is what the
Hmm.
clip actually looked like. It had color and everything. But I just wanted to add that effect with an adjustment layer, which you can add on top of your clips and everything under it will be applied. And I went to lumetri color and I just lowered the saturation to 0 to like kind of showcase that like old filmic memory style.
Yeah, and the reason you're kind of doing an adjustment layer there for this purpose is you can just do one layer, have it
Mhm.
applied to all the clips. It's easier to kind of toggle on and off versus having to go every single shot by shot.
Yeah, it takes a lot of times. I used to like before I even knew about adjustment layers, I would always like go through every clip and color grade it individually and just like try to do stuff. And I was like, oh wow, like makes life easier
So much
because
easier. So
yeah.
for those who don't know about adjustment layers, how do you make one?
Yeah, so if you want to make an adjustment layer, the fastest way is just going to your project bin. And I generally will just right click and click on new item, and then I'll look for adjustment layer and I'll add that in. And once you do that, it'll pop up in your bin right here. And it's really nice because you can always just drag in adjustment layers anywhere on your timeline. And because it's like just right in your bin, it makes it really fast and easy.
Yeah, it's basically like a little invisible layer that stays on top and acts as a video clip, and you just throw, effects on just as you would a regular video.
Yeah, yeah. It obviously just makes the workflow faster and it's just a lot more efficient because sometimes you can't add in multiple effects. So, for example, if there's a clip that was really shaky, I can't add in a warp stabilizer effect to stabilize it and
Mm-hmm.
then add in another motion style effect on the same clip because it won't work. So then I'll have to apply one to an adjustment layer, put it on the clip, and then it'll then in sequence actually work and apply both of the motion style effects.
Right on. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing how you're utilizing that. And then is that kind of scratches effect? Is that a layer you already had, or are you using
Yeah,
something
so I
you kind
have
of
a
found
bunch
on
of
there?
like film
Okay.
overlay layers. So if you go to my bin, I have a folder called VFX, and I kind of just grabbed a bunch of downloads I had. So it's like an old film overlay. And essentially, before I even edited it, it looks like this. Let me pull it up real quick. So normally
And
it'll
for,
look like that.
yep. So what
Uh,
did you do to get it to play well? Did you change the opacity or the screen
mm.
mode?
Yeah, so I always affect anytime there's an overlay or something I want to put on top of a clip, I'll change the opacity and go to blend. And usually I just click on screen to kind of like make it transparent, but also still have the effect shown.
Yeah, perfect. And I
Let's go
think
add.
a lot of people love those effects. And if you're looking to get some of those, there's tons of packs you can buy online. Also, for a lot of these kind of film scratch overlays, you can find a lot of free ones too if you just kind of search the interwebs of the world. So, yeah, that's how you can get some of those.
Yeah, super, super helpful for sure. Take advantage of all the free stuff because this is like years of just stuff I accumulate over time.
Yeah, yeah, I do the same thing.
Okay, so
All
yeah,
right.
we're gonna go back and just add in clips now, just to like add more to the scene. So far we have, where is it? We have a few clips here that are like memories from college. And basically, I wanted to add in one more clip before we transition to the upbeat part of the video. So what I like to do is because I organized it earlier, this is why shot selection is really important and just organization. I have a folder called college memories, and I can just go in here and find a clip that I think would fit the vibe. And I think I
Hmm.
chose some already. I just need to check real quick. I put them on my timeline. Sometimes it's just easier to put clips on the timeline so you don't have to like scourge and just go back and forth in your bin. You already know it's there. So
And Robert is asking if you always use your phone to make videos.
I use my so yeah, so this video is a mix of iPhone footage and camera footage. So I use a A7 IV right here actually, if y'all can see, but A7 IV, go to camera, been using it for 2 years. And I also use my iPhone quite often for footage because I think anyone can just use a phone. Like it works pretty well. And a lot of videos aren't even on camera, so it's easier to do it that way.
Awesome.
But yeah, as you can see, a lot of the memories I use aren't on my professional camera just because it's like when you're in the moment, I don't have my camera on out with my friends and stuff. So generally I'll just have my iPhone and just grab some clips that I can use overall. So yeah, right now I'm just gonna add some shots real quick. It's different memories from college.
And while you're doing that, for anyone in the chat that's kind of watching, if you like podcasts, be sure to check out In the Making. It is a Adobe podcast, and they got some really cool guests, and they're talking all about the creator economy and just the creative industry. They have guests like Aaron Draplin. You might have heard of him. He's a big name in the design world. Also, Christo, who is very well known on YouTube as well. You can find that podcast. It's called In the Making on Spotify, Apple, or wherever. So be sure to go check that out. And finally, Brian, I'm curious, how did you end up here on Adobe Live since this is your first time?
Yeah, so that's the short story. I've worked with Adobe in the past actually on for so one of the other things I do as a creative, I'm a creator for a company called Declassified Media, and we do like short form man in the street interviews. And through that, I've actually worked with Adobe on different campaigns in the past and was able to check out the headquarters, meet a lot of cool people, and ended up just talking to someone that was doing the live stream and was like, "Oh, Brian, you should try this out for sure." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And this is like 2 months ago. So that was all from just putting myself out there and just asking someone randomly when I met them.
Nice. And yeah, the moderators can share out a link, but if there's any guest recommendations, if you want to be on the show here, it's a pretty cool opportunity. You can nominate yourself or someone else. So be on the lookout for a link on how to do that, and we'll get you on the show. All right, Brian, where are we at?
All right, so I just finished up my college memory sequence. I'm like really picky when it comes to shots, so like I'm probably gonna change this again later, but this is like good enough for now. So you can just see, you can tell like, man, this guy had like a lot of good times and stuff, right? There's like a lot of like happy energy. He's reflecting on that. One thing I like to do a lot is with videos, if I cut off B-roll and I want to emphasize a statement. So if I unmute this section, you'll hear what I say.
But then I remember it was worth it.
I like to leave things black and just add text slowly. So, but what I did basically was just match up my voice with like text layers that pop up. So it's like
I remember it was worth it.
They just pop up like that one at a time to emphasize like each word I say.
Yeah.
And as you can see, we're missing a word right here. Was worth it. So this is the fun part. I like to do animations actually in Photoshop and implement them into Premiere because that allows us to like just add cool stylistic visual things like little small scribbles that you can use. And I wanted to do that for this section. So let's actually do that real quick. Hop over to Photoshop. All right. So we are now in Photoshop. This is a cool trick I learned not too long ago that I think is like really helpful because I would always see people animate like words and different things. And I'm like, dang, like how are these people doing that? But basically what we're going to be doing is within Photoshop, one of the windows there is called Timeline. And it's cool because you can actually make and draw and like manipulate words and animate them within Photoshop. So you don't actually have to be like a professional animator and have another software. It's really convenient with this method.
Awesome.
But yeah, so you had a question, Alex, or?
Oh no, so what do we got going on here? You have a matching canvas that's it looks like 1920 by 1080 versus the vertical. Oh no, you're zoomed in. Okay.
Yeah, I'm zoomed in. But yeah, so I have my canvas here, and what I'm gonna do is basically draw out the words worth it with like my handwriting, just like make it look scribbly and cool. And then we're gonna import that after we animate that into the video to add that little stylistic change to emphasize that point. So bear with my terrible handwriting as you're gonna see me draw a little bit. I like using like the pencil hard feature because it has that nostalgic look, like when you write things out, kind of like that. But yeah, let me do that real quick. So what I generally do is I make different layers. So my animations aren't crazy. It's just like a little quick text animation, but I'll draw out the word that I want to do first. So I'll just do that real quick.
And
I'm
if
doing this
anyone
with,
from Wacom Company is looking to give away a free tablet, I know a guy named Brian would probably like that. Then you can just
yeah,
draw it way easier.
that would be very clutch because I'm using my cursor right now. Um, so yeah, so right now we have the words worth it. And I have this on a transparent background because when I'm going to import that into Premiere, I can do the same thing I did earlier with screen and then have that as an overlay in the video. So we got the word worth it right here. Basically, what I like to do is I jump a few frames over and I'll basically go on the same layer and I'm gonna redraw on top of it, but change like the opacity of what I'm drawing to like make the little animation. So it'll feel like the thing's moving a little bit, but it's just like small scribbles that I'm making on top. So I'll
Yeah,
just redraw on top of it right now. Can't really, let me zoom in a little bit so y'all can see that.
this is a cool process. I don't think I've done it this way. But I
Yeah.
love seeing, how different people, work and work their magic. And this is a really like this has definitely been done before in videos, and I do like that effect for exactly what you're doing. It kind of adds that like authentic kind of this is your writing sort of thing.
hmm Yeah, I don't really like using, besides captions, I don't really like using like other people's handwriting in general. So I actually have my own handwriting in captions as well, because it adds like that own unique style to it.
Okay. So each one of these layers, you're just kind of retracing with
Mhm.
kind of like a stylized brush in Photoshop.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Super simple, but it just adds a little like touch to it that is really fun to just to see animated in the end. And I'm gonna actually cut up each layer in a bit as well.
Cool. And how did you learn this technique?
So one of my other creative friends, I saw him do it in a video, and I was always like, "How do you do this?" And I didn't want to ask him because I was just like, "Man, I don't want to copy you." So then I bought his Patreon, and I found out he made a tutorial on how to do it on there. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I did not know that was a thing." And then I found out on like YouTube as well, but I had this from my friend, so it was really really helpful.
Right on. So you would say it was worth it.
Definitely, yeah, definitely made things easier.
Okay, so what's the idea here? You have the three different layers. You mentioned you're gonna kind of chop them up. How is this working? Explain to me like what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so basically I have three different layers. So each layer I added on like another layer of like writing to it, right? So if
Hmm.
you drag the cursor, you'll see like, oh, it's like kind of animating. And what I want to do again is drag this first layer over again. Let me see if I can actually make a copy of it now. Let me do this, and then actually I'll do it this way.
So while you're working on that, when it comes to social content, what do you think is like most important to you to differentiate yourself from other social content creators and not being just exactly the same?
Yeah, I think like ultimately just having fun with the video because I think a lot of creators will get to a point where they're just like very repetitive with what they're making, and they won't have as much fun like just trying out different things. Like whenever I see myself kind of getting stagnant, I'll like look for tutorial to like learn how to do something again because I think like that's what makes it really fun. Because there's a lot of periods where you're just like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, and you're not having as much fun with like the projects you're working on. You're just like, okay, like let me start from scratch. Like I'll go back through like old videos I've made. I'm like, dang, like I did a really cool effect back then. I should try that again. Or like, let me learn something new. And for
Hmm.
me, I do that through like just learning like Photoshop, little like this animation thing. It's super small, but it makes the video feel more enjoyable for me at least, and not as stagnant overall.
Yeah.
So
So
all
we're
right.
kind of rendering out this video. It's just what
Yep.
was that? Edit, render video.
Yep. So I'm gonna quickly do that, render it out, and then we're gonna import this into our Premiere timeline. So, and then that's where we'll actually get to see it in action. All right. So another way that you can also just import footage is like doing it this way. I usually just get lazy and just drag and drop to find stuff. But all right, as you can see, found my worth it clip right here. So this is where the fun kicks in. All right. So as you can see, this is the clip. Worth it. Right now, there's a lot of stuff we have to fix because it's super small.
Hmm.
It doesn't look
Memories were
like
created
it's
from
moving like fast enough. So what I generally do when this happens is, first of all, let me put it in the section that's going to be added. And then I will increase the scale of it because it's a video at the moment,
Hmm.
since we rendered it out as a video. And then I'll just add it down. Do that real quick. Get a nice style. And you can see it's like very different from the other text, but I kind of just like when things look uniform and then all of a sudden you add in something that doesn't look like it should be in that spot at all. And I think that just adds
Yeah.
like that's a stylistic thing overall.
Yeah, and that's very much like a design aesthetic as well. Like you'll
Mhm.
notice in advertising videos, maybe they'll have like uh it's called tape often, but like maybe a colored bar behind some text to really draw your eye in, or
Yeah.
maybe one word of text is all outlined just to like really emphasize the importance. And I feel like in a way that's what you're doing here as well.
Yeah. And basically, all right, so right now, what I just did was added it in. I used I think this is called the ripple tool, selection tool, and basically, or no, sorry, it's the stretch tool. And I stretched it in to make it faster because it was like really long before. So it matches this. And if you play it back, you'll
it was
see
worth it.
the words
So
move
it
a little
was
bit
worth it.
faster, but it's still kind of slow at the moment.
Yeah, and so what that tool is doing, I think is it the rate tool? I think it is. I think
It's the
R on the
stretch. Yeah,
keyboard.
it's R. Yeah.
And it's actually, I didn't know about that tool for the longest time, and it's such a handy little tool. Like, so what you can do if you're trying to get a specific clip to the exact size to match with another clip, I used to just kind of like randomly type in arbitrary
Values.
numbers for like speed change and that sort of stuff to try to get it to match.
Mhm.
And with this tool, like I said, I think it's R on the keyboard. You can
Yeah.
just grab the end with that tool, drag it over, and it automatically, you can see on your timeline there, 618.75% makes it perfectly in line with your other layers.
Yeah,
Such a sweet
I made
little.
the same mistake as well. I would always like just find a different part and just guess the speed, but it's really helpful because you could just drag and make it slower, longer, and you can do this for any video clip.
Yep.
So right now, like it's kind of slow still. Let me see what it looks like. Okay, so I like the speed, but it ends really fast. So what I'll do is I'll use the option key on my keyboard and just duplicate it and just drag another section, and then it'll replay it because it's in the same position already, and then it'll look really fast. But it still feels a little bit too fast. So what I'll do is I'll just make another section, duplicate it again, and just do it this way, then drag everything else out so that section feels long enough. Okay, let's do
All
this.
right.
Cool. Alrighty, so then if we go back and play it, it looks
There
a
you
lot
go.
better now. So it's a little bit
Yeah, kind of a
longer
nice
and
little
it,
stylized effect there.
yeah, and it emphasizes the words worth it because I think like in the script that's kind of like where it's the tone of the music will change and it'll feel a little bit more encouraging. So that's I like doing that. You guys should definitely try it if you just want to emphasize a certain part. And obviously, if you have better handwriting, you can do a lot more. Like I used to do stickman stuff and a lot. So it's a nice little stylistic thing.
So, do you see yourself getting a tablet in the future?
Probably. There's like so many things I want to learn. Like I'm trying to learn Blender right now, and like it's just yeah, there's a lot of
See,
different things.
man, you're quite the go-getter.
Yeah, I just throw different things at myself and just try it to see what happens. But all right, so back to the video. We finished the first section where the character's reflecting, and I remember it's worth it. So now the music kind of changes. The vibe feels a little bit faster. And this is like where music like this kind of signifies a montage sequence because it just feels like the beats are like a little bit faster, so you can just throw in more clips. So now I'm going to throw in the good memories that the character remembers, like, oh, the past 4 years were actually really fun and enjoyable. So let me enable the voiceover again. And basically every clip I'll put in will kind of match the words that I'm saying to make it a little bit easier.
So many memories were created from traveling the world to meeting my heroes to going on crazy adventures I would have never imagined.
All right, so I mentioned like traveling the world, meeting my heroes, and heroes for me was when I started this journey of like content creation overall. just getting to meet a lot of creatives that I actually watched growing up and looked up to. Those were kind of like the heroes in a sense. So I want to throw in clips of like different creators or people to signify like, oh, that's what he's talking about. But yeah, let's find some of those clips right now. I think I put some of them on the timeline already, actually. So should be
Awesome.
easier.
And then, yeah, as we kind of talked about at the beginning, you preemptively kind of planned the whole structure of this video
Mm-hmm.
over in Milanote. So, how closely would you say that you followed that structure just in general? Like, do you feel like there was a lot of changes, or were you like pretty dead on to what you initially envisioned on paper?
Yeah, so like I think generally I'm pretty close to the structure, but for example, this voiceover right here, it was actually very different. So this voiceover is all improv because I was just like the original file, I said something else and I was just like, man, this isn't hidden right now. Like it doesn't work with the music. So I quickly recorded a new voiceover and just threw it in. And that was completely different from my script. So that happens a lot. And I think like as a creative, you should always be open to you're gonna change your vision's gonna change a lot and being flexible helps because it might be better than what you originally planned for. So I do that a lot. But generally, for the most part, I think in terms of shots, like it's pretty accurate just because like it's a lot of effort to go film those shots and not use them. But sometimes you're like, okay, that doesn't really work. So I'll throw it in. But with B-roll, at least, like I usually will just slap on clips that I think match that emotion that I'm talking about. So we're gonna see like when I get to the part about traveling, I'm gonna have clips of me like in the airport or maybe on a plane, and then like showing clips of me in a different environment that's adventurous to kind of like emphasize that emotion.
All right.
So let's do that
And
real.
then, yeah, while you're doing that, just another kind of quick question. Are you, so we have that voiceover track. Were you recording that separately, with your phone or your microphone, or did you use kind of that microphone on the track, uh, like
So I
the
always
voiceover tool in Premiere?
Yeah, so I always use another mic actually. Like the mic I'm using right now is generally what I use for my voiceovers, or I'll use a Rode Wireless Go, which is like a
Okay.
really good mic. Because they're you can use this when like you're not close to your camera. So if you're far away, let's say I'm standing 50 feet away, I can just talk into this mic and you'll be able to hear me. So I use this on the go a lot because it's super small and just very efficient, and it's 32-bit, so things don't really peak.
Yeah. Boom.
All right, so let's do this. Find some clips. Um,
And we got, just so you know, we have probably a little over 25 minutes or so left before we'll kind of do a recap and discuss kind of what's coming up next, as well as what we covered in this stream.
yeah, that works. Okay.
So right now you're looking through those B-roll clips that you had, just trying to align with the voiceover to kind of help
Yeah.
visually tell the story.
Yep. Basically. And I have most of them already like pre-planned out. Here's one. Here's another one.
So tell me, like, what's going through your head right now? What are you looking for?
So I'm looking for clips that kind of showcase adventure and travel, but also good times. So like this one right here, right? I actually went backpacking in the Grand Canyon a few weeks ago, and this is a perfect clip. This kind of showcase like, oh, this guy like he really did like have a good time the past 4 years while he was in school. So I'm
Mhm.
actually going to use this clip because it kind of showcases a lot. Um,
And obviously, it looked like that clip was in 16:9, and you just kind of pumped up the scale there
yeah,
and
yeah,
reframed it to what works for your social
yeah.
media video.
Yeah, generally I'll film more things horizontally because I think I make long form videos more, but it's always nice because you can always rescale videos in like the ratio you need for like short form content for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. It's very helpful.
And while you're doing that, where is the best place for people to follow you, find your work? For anyone just joining in, I mean, I know you have your YouTube channel. What is that? Where can people find you and check out your work?
Yeah, so you can find me at Brian Ariyo on YouTube. And then you can also find me on Instagram at brian.ayooo, where you'll see more of my like my vertical short form content. And you can also see me on my other account, Declassified College, on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram as well.
Awesome. And what is declassified college aiming to accomplish?
Yeah, so declassified college is a lot of man in the street content where it's me generally interviewing students at colleges to help them out, and share tips and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what the intent of it was originally. And now we kind of do like more entertainment style content that's like funnier. So you'll if you find it, you'll see some funny clips.
For people that are trying to get into that social media, kind of that breakthrough phase where you have, some followers, whether it's on, it sounds like your specialty
So
is
many
kind of more YouTube. What advice would you give to them for someone who has like maybe a brand new account? What's your best tip?
Yeah, I'd say overall just have fun with it because I think it's very easy to get caught up with trying to figure out like, oh, what's the best way to make a video blow up, or like how does this work in the algorithm, or like how to like do this. And I think like when I got into that mindset when I first started, it made me lose my enjoyment
memories were
for making
created from
videos, if that makes sense, because there's just like a lot
Mhm.
you're thinking of. So I'd say like always have fun. Like I would say make some core principles for yourself. For me, it was like anytime I make a vlog, like I want to have fun, be myself. I don't want to force narratives to stories because I think like sometimes it's just better to like experience things, then you tell the story, than like plan out like, okay, I'm gonna when I go on this trip to like New York, I'm gonna like have this shot and this shot and this shot. It just stresses you out and also doesn't let you really enjoy the moment.
traveling the
But I say like things like that will generally help when you first start out. And also find community. Like I think finding other people that are making content similar to you or want to make content will make it a lot more enjoyable in the long run.
Yeah, a lot more fun. Do you ever struggle with finding that balance between like when you want to shoot content or just kind of live in the moment and say, hey, I kind of need like a mental break from this for a little bit just to kind of live and enjoy it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I tend to, I do get stressed out quite often when I think about content. If it's just because it's becomes like such a core part of your life, especially when you're like doing it
Mhm.
kind of full time. But I'd say like I have a good balance. It's like I'm not always gonna work. I used to work on videos on like the weekends, and I only do that if it's like one like a really big passion project, or it's like I just wanted, I can't, there's nothing else I want to do. So I think just like finding that balance, trying other things sometimes not even like watching YouTube, but I don't really consume content anymore. Because I think I find like when I consume content, it makes me want to make more content. And if I'm not in a place where I'm like, okay, I want to make a video, then I'll just not like watch YouTube videos or go on Instagram in the latter.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also find for myself too, like if you overconsume, there is such a thing as over-consuming content in my mind,
Mhm.
where it's like you're just watching video after video and then the whole day goes by and you realize you're like, man, I could have like gone out and just made my own if you wanted to, if that was it. So like it's hard
Yeah.
not to get stuck in that trap as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Well,
Keys in the chat is showing some love for those Rode microphones, and I gotta agree. I actually just picked up a pair a couple months ago of the newer Rode. What is it? The wireless Micro
wireless go
Pros.
too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a couple of them out there. Good stuff and super easy to use. So definitely agree. And now we got some B-roll shots in here. And I know I kind of challenged you to do this without necessarily playing it to the music. So how did you go about that? Were you just tossing in clips about the same length, or were you matching up to the beat?
Yeah, I kind of like I don't think the some of these might be off, but I kind of matched the voiceover because I remember like what I talked about in each section. So I kind of just went off that. Generally, like sometimes I get tired of like I don't know if you also agree, but like you get tired of hearing the same song because you're like replaying the same sequence again and again. Like you got to get a break. So if I know like what I'm saying, I'll be able to just like match it to the words, and then I can like test like did I get it
memories
right?
were created from
Let's see.
traveling the world to meeting my heroes.
So like that was off, but I think if I go here,
To going on crazy adventures I would have never imagined.
so I actually go here and put this clip right here. Is what I'm gonna do. I almost had it perfectly. That would have been nice.
Yeah, that was
Get 3 points.
pretty dead on there.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay.
And for that, I'm grateful. But then everything snaps into place.
Okay.
Man, you're
Cool.
really starting to tug on the heartstrings here.
Yeah. No, it's I love like music is so powerful when you think about videos and stuff because it's just it adds a lot. If you can like my motto is like if I can make someone feel something through like a video I make, that's how I know like I did a good job. And I remember one of the earlier videos I made on YouTube.
And for
I
that,
used a certain track and I had like a certain voiceover that like someone commented, they're like, dude, like when you said that word, that made me cry. And I was like, oh my God, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Like that's an addicting feeling. So it adds a lot more to the videos.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, it really makes
But
it
then everything
Yeah,
really makes
it's
it relatable and authentic. Like I think at the end of the day, you're trying to create, in a way, a small relationship with the viewer that they can look at it and say, in their mind, they're remembering their images, their memories, and kind of reliving that while you are here.
hmm exactly. All right, so it looks like we kind of have the finished video in terms of clips done for now. So I'll play out this last sequence and then we can go to the next phase briefly. Start from here.
Perfect. And for anyone just joining in, we've been live for about an hour on this particular session. We're hanging out with Brian. Links are posted to where you can find him. But he's been kind of walking us through his entire process for creating social content, from pre-production, how he plans out his shots, how he scratches all that and then starts over and replans it again, and then how he brings it all into Premiere and starts piecing it together. He had probably about 80-90% of this video already edited, and then we've spent the last several minutes talking about how to do some cool text graphics within Photoshop, as well as actual just watching him work his magic inside of Premiere for maybe the last 15 to 10-15 seconds of this video. So
Yep.
this is kind of like a world premiere now.
Yeah, it's fire. Oh, one thing I didn't bring up earlier. So as you can see in my timeline overall, there's a lot of like different colors. So generally one thing that's really helpful is just like for organization of like labeling your clips, your sound design, your sound effects, your music. So for me, I generally use the default color for music when you import it in your timeline. But for like the sound effects, I made them all a forest color. And the way that you can do that is selecting your clip and just right clicking and you'll be able to see like the different colors under label. So I could make like this audio become rose, and that's like what it'll look like. And for me, I do that for mainly for sound design and sound effects. If it's a sound effect that I'm using that comes straight from the video, like the audio itself, I'll make it like mango. I think it's called mango. Yeah. Orangish. And then like if it's like a certain clip, like all of these, I didn't do it right now, but generally I would make all my B-roll like lavender. And there's no like straight order for like the clips, like the color that you choose, but I find it helpful when you're trying to like differentiate like what color you want to use.
And real quick, what you said, mango for which sound?
I use mango for sound that comes from like the clip, like the audio. So if it's like a video,
Okay, like
the
natural
default,
sound,
yeah,
sync
natural
sound.
sound.
And
Yeah.
I'm so curious, for any of the editors that are watching right now, because this has oddly come up a couple of times. I always use Mango for sound effects and graphics. Don't know why. And then I ran into someone else one day who did the exact same thing. Always Mango for, sound effects or graphics. I'm curious, what are your go-to colors for specific things like sound effects and graphics and maybe sync sound that belongs to the camera? I'm just so curious to hear if anyone else uses the same colors. There might be some like psychological effect there.
Yeah, I know I chose mine randomly just because the colors look nice or appealing. There's probably like a rule as well, but I think it's just whatever works for you.
I don't know that there is a rule. I mean, I chose
Okay.
mine randomly too. So like when I
Okay,
met
cool.
someone someday that uses the same colors for certain things, I was like, whoa, like, does that happenstance or just,
Yeah, it's like you
All
have a
right.
connection. Cool.
So we got this last 15 minutes or so. What do we want to focus on?
Yeah, so we're gonna just do a little audio check on like sound design, see how the sequence feels from like a storytelling perspective, and then we'll dabble briefly into like color grading for the
Awesome.
clips. Yeah. All
And
right, so
actually, oh, I'm so sorry, Keys and Robert, I missed your question. Brian, where do you get your music from? And then the follow-up question to that is, do you ever try to make your own music?
good question. So I use music licensing softwares generally, so or platforms. So the main one I use is Epidemic Sound.
Mhm.
And in terms of finding specific soundtracks, I'll generally just like scroll or like on Epidemic, it's cool because you can kind of like look up like the emotion or like the mood you want. But also, a lot of my music is, for the most part, a lot of the songs I use are copyright claims because I just like love. Sometimes I don't want to like give up that sound, but it's also like if I have to monetize something, then I'll switch it. But for the most part, I'll also I have a friend that makes music, and to your second question. I want to make my own soundtracks eventually, and I have friends that would definitely be down to help me. But for the most part, I kind of just use my friends' music a lot of times because they have like it's all free. It's also like really good. Shout
Oh,
out
I
Mando,
love
bro,
that.
a really good group. But my friend Bar, he makes good music.
Oh yeah, where can people find that?
Yeah, if you look up, he's a creator as well. If you look up Mandel Bro, Mandelbro on YouTube, you'll see his recent video. He actually made it about making a song called Your House, but super good music, copyright free, and it's pretty good. So
Awesome. Cool. I love the local community support. I'm
yeah.
all for that.
All right, yeah. So we're just gonna play out this end sequence to see how it feels.
Was my time in college too short? Did I take it for granted? Did I really enjoy these past 4 years? But then I remember it was worth it. So many memories were created, from traveling the world to meeting my heroes to going on crazy adventures I would have never imagined. And for that, I'm grateful. But then everything snaps into place, and I remember I have to get ready for the next day. And the cycle begins once again.
Cool. So we got the sequence, little fun tidbit. But yeah, it's kind of like the video for the most part. One thing that I
Awesome.
actually added, I'm not sure if you guys heard it. I'm gonna have to change the volume, but for the clips that were like black and white with the filter on top, I
Yeah.
generally add a movie projector effect. So it should sound like this. Oh, that's why I didn't hear it. It was not on. I disabled it. Whoops. Okay.
That funny
So
little mute button. Yeah.
yeah, the funny little mute button. Be careful. You can kind of hear that movie projection sound,
Did I
Mm,
take it
yeah.
for granted?
It's
and
pretty
it
faint on
adds more.
our side, but I do hear it.
All right, let me change the thing a little bit. -12. Generally, my sound effects are like within -20 and 30 because they do get loud, but let's see. You might be able to hear it now.
Did I take it for granted? Did I really enjoy these past 4 years?
Yeah.
It
Definitely
just
can hear
adds
it now.
more to that effect overall. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So at this point, we have kind of a full edit, and then you would, kind of as we discussed earlier, you'd spend some time going back and leveling all the sounds, your sound effects and everything. We did have, you touched on at the very beginning. I don't think we'll have time to go through all of it. But these first kind of initial clips, we have a mixture of Sony footage, we have a mixture of iPhone footage, and the Sony's shot in log. Let's talk a little bit about your color process to kind of make things match.
yeah. So I love lumetri color. So what I usually do is if you click on window, you'll be able to add in lumetri color to your panel, but I also add in my scopes as well. Um this is the vector scope right here, and then this is just like the waveforms. But basically to add both, I like you right click this section. So usually you'll just see your waveforms. But if you want to see a vector scope, you can just right click and add it. And this basically shows you like how much like where the colors like how the white balance is. Like if it's more pointed towards being red, blue, green. And what I'll do
Mm-hmm.
is generally the good thing about Adobe is I think this is new actually. Because before I would just like color correct
This
like this, and I would like tweak my exposure. So color correction is when before you color grade, it's like the process of just correcting the footage. So you tweak your exposure, your highlights to see like the color you like, the shadows, the whites. If you've ever edited photos, it's basically the same thing in both
Yeah, and that
platforms.
that window for your scopes, do you think we could drag it to the right a bit so we can even out
Yeah.
kind of the scopes in the video?
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
There we go.
So the first time people look at that kind of waveform, it can be a little intimidating. You're like, whoa, what am I looking at? I think the simplest way to explain it is 0 at the bottom is going to be black, and then 100 or 255 at the top is going to be pure white. So anything beyond that, it just stays pure white. Anything below 0 is just pure black. And you kind of want to like try to get everything within those ranges. And then in addition, if you look at that scope, anything, it actually is the pure reflection of the image left to right. So we can tell that kind of like, I guess, right third of your scope is actually kind of where your feet are in the video. So fun stuff.
Yeah, super fun. But yeah, so generally I'll correct like the log footage. So as you can tell, like before it looked pretty flat. But then I just tweaked in like the shadows, exposure, and what you can also do is just add in like your saturation. But the good thing is, Adobe recently added, if you go to settings, you can override your color space to match like what it looked like in your camera, which makes things a lot faster and easier. So what I'll do is I shot this in S Gamma 3 Cine. So look for the profile for my camera. I see it right here, Sony S-Log S Gamma 3 Cine, and boom, like it adds in like what it looked like in my camera. And then that makes it easier because then I can just go in and tweak the colors even more while like seeing like
Yeah.
it matches like what it looked like in camera.
Yeah, like, and the reason you shoot it in that mode too is you're going to get a lot more dynamic range and be able to color it a lot better. So just adding that one click already gives you, saves you so much time in trying to
Yeah.
get those sliders to the right places. So now you're just kind of doing the fine tuning almost, right?
Yeah, basically. And generally like what I would do is like I would like color grade each clip individually. That's generally the process. But the good thing is when you have a LUT, you can basically just slap everything on. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say like I didn't want to like just do all the color correction process, I'm in the punch, like I can only like maybe use auto. What I used to do in the past was I would just go here, I would add an adjustment layer first because everything underneath will be applied. And then I'll go into my adjustment layer and I'll go to the color tab and I'll go to creative and just input a LUT. So as you can see, I have one right now, which is it's like this blue orange LUT that kind of like emphasizes certain parts of the image. But I'll add that on top of my look
This is
to get like a different color. And then I can tweak that a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more blue, change the tint a little bit. And if you look at the vector scope, you'll see the direction of like the circle, kind of the glow going into like the colors that are more emphasized. So it's a little bit more like blue if I bring down the blues a bit more. And it's a good way to check your white balance as well.
Yeah. We do have a question from Robert, not to take you away from your color, but do you also use After Effects in your workflow?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to try making like a quick transition After Effects, but I think it'll take a little bit too long. But I do use After Effects sometimes. For example, if I wanted to actually, I think we can do it real quick. Let me find it. Okay,
We
so
probably got like another 7-8 minutes or so, and then
okay,
we'll
here
kind
we
of
go.
recap everything.
Yeah, we're gonna speed run After Effects real quick.
All right, Robert, this one's for you.
Yeah, this is for you, Robert.
What are we gonna
Okay.
do?
So how I don't know if this is the proper way to do it, but when I work with After Effects in the timeline, what I'll do is I will render the clips I want to use in After Effects together. So there's a way to do this. You basically just select 2 clips. So right here, I want to, let me move this out of the way. So I have this clip of here with my graduation cap, and then this clip of me looking at my phone. And I just want to make a transition with both of them. So I'm going to select both of them. I'll right click and then I'll replace with After Effects composition because it'll create its own composition that you can like live in real time, like edit on the fly. And when we do that, After Effects should pop up. Let's just do that for now. Take for
The
hopefully it loads.
technicalities.
Yeah, let's get this. Let's see. Day in the life post grad. Okay, cool. So we have our clip, our 2 clips. It's really cool. So if you like look at it, it's the 2 clips I just imported in. And if you go to Premiere, you'll see like the composition. It'll look like that. So what we're gonna do is let's tweak this a little bit. All right. We're gonna pre-compose these two clips, which will just make them one composition. And do this real quick. Second.
Oh, yeah, it was there. Right click and it was pre-composed towards the bottom.
All
Yeah,
right, 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 yeah, there
it
we
always
go.
seems like it moves around.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many updates, I get confused. Okay, let's
Yeah.
call this glitch transition. Okay, and then I'm gonna duplicate this. And then what I want to do is basically my vision was to make like a glitch kind of transition where the screen kind of shakes a bit and then it will transition into the next clip essentially.
Okay.
So we're gonna look for the effect we need is called, I think, color shift.
And Robert, right back at you. I'm curious, do you use After Effects in your workflow? And if so, let us know what your favorite part of it is or how you utilize After Effects and Premiere in the same workflow. So we've covered Premiere, we've covered some Photoshop, and now we are getting into After Effects and some glitchiness, which I know you mentioned that earlier on in the stream, you kind of wanted to do a glitch in here as well. So kind of cool. We're
Yeah.
diving in.
Yes, sir. Let me try to remember the name of it. There's so many effects in After Effects. It's so interesting when you look them. Oh, okay. It's called shift channels. All right, so this is the shift channel effect, which is basically going to change like the color channel that we'll see in the clip. So what I'm going to do is find the section that I want to transition to, which is like a little bit right before here. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to change I'm going to make this only red. So I'm going to turn everything off. And then we're going to copy this effect, which you can do here by copying, paste it here and here. And then I'm going to make this off, make this green.
And
Off.
Robert, you were at the right place to learn After Effects. Such a helpful program. So far what we've done is we selected our two clips in Premiere. We said make right clicked and said make After Effects composition. Now we're inside of After Effects. We took those two clips, selected them both, hit right clicked and pre-composed, and then you duplicated it 3 times. And now we're adding shift channels to each layer.
Indeed. Let me do this real quick. We're
And
gonna
we're
add
really
a
putting
little.
We're Brian on the spot here for his his
Yeah,
time to see how it can
we're
go.
gonna see if we can speed
Welcome to
run
the
this real
working
quick.
world. Graduate college and everything's on a timeline now.
Yeah. Let me fix the color thing. Okay. We're gonna make a keyframe and add a wiggle to it. Let me see if okay. Oh, that's why.
After Effects is it's a fun one to learn. There's so many different elements of it. You know, you can do things like really cool transitions, you can do compositing, and then there's like a whole nother world of like 3D stuff in there, as well as like 2.5 3D where it's not even true 3D and you're just using cameras and manipulating layers. So definitely once you learn the basics, and this is kind of to Robert, like don't feel intimidated because the basics are actually, you know, can be pretty straightforward once you like kind of get a general understanding, and then everything after that, I mean, it's a long marathon game to kind of learn all the aspects. But I think anytime you have a project, just continue to push yourself a little bit every time, and you'll continue to add on that knowledge. So we got these 3 layers, and I see you're changing the channels to specific colors, and we're kind of looking to make that glitch transition.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know why it's there we go. Off. Okay, there we go. I put it in the wrong order. I was like,
And so what are you doing right now?
so I'm changing the color channels to kind of make like an RGB look. So when the glitch happens, it'll like look like it's glitching out.
Kind
So
of
you'll see like
shifting in
those two
between.
colors. Yeah. Let's see if we can add this here. We're gonna make that a screen. Okay. And then now we're gonna add in our wiggle position effect right here. I'll fix the color last, but let me just show you the quick transition. Basically, now that our wiggle position is here, we're going to make a keyframe, which is really helpful because you can just do this in After Effects before the transition. So we're gonna have it right. We're gonna make one here where it's 0. And then
And
okay.
just in case we do kind of start wrapping up while you're doing that, our time here with Brian and myself, we only got a couple minutes left. So we'll go ahead and wrap up here soon when he's done working on that. But that is not the end of Motion Mondays here on Adobe. There is another segment, the Adobe Motion Spotlight event with Valentina and James Bonanno. They will be going over discussing Valentina, who is a content director and editor. She'll discuss her recent move to Nebula Motion Pictures, kind of her journey, as well as advice for cutting narrative content. So even once we're done here in a couple minutes, stick around because there is another show. And if you missed anything from today's stream, it will be available and archived on YouTube and Behance, so you can always go back and watch. And just as a favor, please be sure to subscribe to Adobe Live on YouTube. And we have these going all week long, so there's a lot of opportunities to learn. Ooh, what do we got here, Brian? We only got a couple minutes left.
So we clutched up. It wasn't like the best version of this effect, but basically what I did was I used added like a wiggle effect to like make the screen shake. Now that the colors are kind of like RGBS. I don't know if you've watched Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse, but there's a lot of like those effects. So I do that a lot sometimes. And basically, we threw it in. So before we transitioned into the memories, I wanted like a glitch effect. So what I did was throwing that in. It like switches to the next frame, and you can kind of see it. If I wanted to make it more dramatic, I could go back and change like the wiggle position a little bit. So I go back to a keyframe right here.
And so you keyframed the values there on and off, it looks like. And then did you do that on every single layer?
Only for the first one. Well, generally I would do it for more, but just to make it really brief, I did it for one. So as you can see, like the screen's kind of displaced, but it kind of gives off that like glitch effect real quick. And I threw it into Premiere, and then I added like a little quick sound effect to emphasize that section. Might be a little loud. Let's see.
Yeah, I think it works great.
But yeah, so boom. That's how you quickly just do an After Effects
Love it. He nailed it. Can we get a round of applause for Brian just hammering that out really quick in After Effects on the fly?
Yeah, I've not done it in a while, so I had to find
Hey, that's okay. We are all here to learn and kind of also just see the way different people do different things. So very cool. We are wrapping this up really quick. And Brian, I just want to say thank you for your first time here on Adobe Live. I hope to have you back. If anyone else is interested in being on Adobe Live, the guest recommendation tab is now up in that upper right-hand corner on Adobe Behance, so be sure to be a part of that. Let us know in the chat, what was your favorite part? Did you learn anything? What you thought? Brian, how did it feel to be here? What do you think?
It felt good. It was honestly like a full circle moment because I just hit my second year of like making videos and like editing and content. So it's kind of cool to show other people my process and how like tell them about the journey as well. But we definitely encourage everyone to just try it, see like what you like, and have fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for participating, for asking questions, joining in. Be sure to stick around. In a few minutes, we have another stream coming up. And Brian, it has been a pleasure, and I'm blown away by your skill, technique, and talent at such a young age. And I hope you continue to keep making these videos because you got some serious talent. So any final words?
No, thanks for having me on. And I guess like just have fun. Always like just embrace the current moment, try your best, and just try different things. Always experiment, seek discomfort. You'll see that flag, but that's kind of like what I always encourage people if they want to ever try becoming a creator or a videographer or a cinematographer. So yeah.
Yeah, and go check out Brian's website, YouTube, and Instagram. Links have been posted in the chat in case you missed it. It is Brian Ariyo at Brian Ariyo for both YouTube, and then Instagram is brian.ayooo on Instagram and brianariyo.myportfolio.com. Thanks everyone for watching. Stick around. We'll be right back. And Brian, again, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you guys soon.